Hi and welcome. It's David here. Just wanted to talk about a couple of things here. I was asked the question the other day if I had any advice that I would give to my younger self when I was just starting out on this writing journey. And I mean, what a great question. So, yeah, do I have advice? Yes, absolutely. The issue is trying to figure out what's the most important. So I'm going to outline three things that I would do differently, knowing what I know now when I was just starting out to write a novel. So the first thing is I'd focus on writing a full story for its own sake rather than trying to write a bestseller. What I mean by that is like I see this all the time in the workshops. Writers who desperately want to write their novel, and yet they get paralyzed by everything that's happening. You know, whether it's worrying about things like cover designs and whether anyone will read it and how to publish it on Amazon, or whether it's going to be good. A million different worries that come about, and this is all stuff that's noise, really. Like when you think about it, the whole point of writing your first novel is not to publish it and create a bestseller. I mean, that can happen. It does happen sometimes. But then people also can win a lottery too sometimes. It's very rare that your first novel is going to be a bestseller or that it would be published by a big publishing firm. That's just not going to happen. So let's forget about that and treat that first novel as a training ground. This is a practice, basically. This is your practice novel. It's not going to be perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't even have to be good. The point to it all is so that you can learn how to plot, how to write, how to revise, how to edit, how to make the writing crisper, like all of those things that just take time and experience to learn. So the first thing I would tell my younger self is when you sit down to plan to write your first novel, don't think of it as something that has to be a bestseller or anything like that. Just write the thing. Just get it out, write it, learn from it, and do this a couple of times, and then move on to looking at writing a book that might actually sell a few copies to strangers. Once you've learned the fundamentals. So that's the first thing. Don't focus on trying to write a bestseller. Just focus on trying to finish a full novel. That's the first thing. The second piece of advice I'd give my younger self would be the following. I wouldn't try to make every paragraph or every chapter or every section of the book perfect before moving on. No, like this need to be perfect. I mean, I think that, that goes way back to second or third grade. It was right around there where you start writing stories, and we're taught, oh, it's got to be perfect, it's got to be perfect. So we keep rewriting it, and rewriting it. Well, if your story is only a couple paragraphs long, that's not that big an issue. But when you're writing 75,000 words, you can't afford to keep going back over and over and over again to make everything perfect. It's just not going to happen. You'll run out of time. You will never get your novel finished, and you'll be no further ahead in the game. So I would tell myself, let's not try to make everything perfect here. Let's just try to get the thing done. So I'm a big proponent of writing a messy first draft. Just get the story out of your head, onto the paper, and then you can revise it and start to make it more interesting, more fluid, concise, all of those good things. But try to make it perfect? No way. It will never happen. It will never, ever happen, and you'll never finish. So that would be the second piece of advice I'd give myself. Stop fussing about trying to make things perfect. Just write the first messy draft, and then you can go back over the whole thing and revise it so that it's in better shape. The third thing then is really important, and I didn't learn this for the longest time because Like many of us, I was raised with the idea that that you need to do everything yourself. That this is what being resourceful looks like. This is what ambition looks like. Is that you do it all on your own, and that's just not true. It's not true in writing a novel, and certainly not true in many other areas of our lives either. So the third piece of advice I'd give my younger self is the following. Stop trying to do it all by yourself. There are so many moving parts to a novel. It boggles the mind, and it can be completely overwhelming if you're not careful. But one thing that is true, and that's the following. And I get this feedback all the time from other writers. Whether it's in the workshops or whether it's writers I work with one-on-one. The truth is that when you get feedback from other writers who are just like you, that feedback is invaluable. It's amazing how much better your story's going to be when you're sharing your chapters with others, when you're bouncing ideas off of other writers, when you're discussing themes and subplots and how to make stories and characters more effective. That's the real beauty of working with other writers. So if nothing else, when you set out on your novel writing journey, try to find a group of like-minded writers who are also in or around the same part of the journey as you are, so that you can work on your stories together. And this by far, I think, is the strongest thing you can do to keep going, to hold yourself accountable, to get that first draft done, and to create a decent story at the end of it all. It's so important to work with others. So I know there's a tendency, and well, part of the part of the myth of the writer is that, oh yes, we're all, so emotional and reclusive, and we all drink a lot and dress funny, and all of those sorts of things, and we hide ourselves away in closets until the novel's done. That's just stuff that happens on TV. That's not the way that real writers work. They always have groups, circles that they're working with, others that they can bounce ideas off of and get some feedback with on their stories. So that would be the third thing then. Third piece of advice that I'd give my younger self. So those three things again. First, the first thing is just write the story. Stop wondering or worrying if it's ever going to sell or if you have to publish, blah, 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 blah. Just write the story. It doesn't have to go anywhere. It can sit on your hard drive or sit on your bookshelf just as is. It doesn't have to go anywhere. But treat it as a training ground, not that you're trying to write a bestseller. Let's get rid of all of that pressure that we put on ourselves and just have fun with the process. The second thing then is stop trying to make everything perfect before moving on. Just write it. It's never going to be perfect, so that's unattainable, and it will take up so much time, and you'll never get it finished. So just get that first draft done. Stop trying to make it perfect. Revise it a few times, and then let it go and move on to the next one, right? And the third thing is let's not try to do everything all by ourselves. Yes, you're the one who will actually have to type on the keyboard or write longhand in your journal. But writing a novel is actually a community thing. You need other writers to talk to and to bounce ideas off of and to get feedback on your writing. So those are the three things. Hope that helps, and we'll see you on the next round.